YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. We've got this cute little thing here. It is a whopping 62 grams all up weight with the battery, the included 400 milliamp hour 1S pack. And this thing has 2 props, 2 spinners included with it, stabilizer. There is no rudder servo, but you can actually, believe it or not, use a DSMX receiver, a satellite receiver, or a Futaba FHSS, I believe is what it is. Or excuse me, an S-Bus input. So really cool, but we have it as a ready to fly and we're not gonna add that function, but it's really cool that you can. It comes with removable landing gear. And of course the prop will go on and off really easy in case you have a crash, which plan on it because this thing is super fun. Final flight control surface test, and here we go. So full disclosure, we flew this last night, but the lighting was terrible and we were having a heck of a time. But look how sweet it looks. All I've done to it is basically played with the elevator on the back. We put the control linkage to the inside-most hole. And you can see this thing has quite the wide turning radius. And look at the beautiful gold up against all the trees here in fall in central Iowa. We are just having some gorgeous days, but I'm afraid that that plane will blend in. Now, there's high and low rates button, which is a button that's on the upper left on the controller here. So as you can see, the auto leveling works pretty good on this thing. It just kind of flies itself. But just keep in mind that it's gonna need a little bit of speed to keep moving. And then this will put you into high and low rates. Don't let the elevator deceive you. What will happen is you'll get yourself turning and then you'll think you can turn sharp. But then it'll do that. It'll start stalling out. So back to low rates. So just be aware of it. Those 2 white lines on the wingtips really help with orientation. Now this is 3D 6G from XK. So that means you actually have pretty good control authority over it. In normal flight mode, you can see a little bit of overcorrection there on the oscillation on the wings. So now I'm gonna go full throttle and I'm gonna press this button. I'm gonna come out of it. And I'm gonna go back into it almost right away because what happens is this plane just gets a little bit tough to keep level. And it's not for a lack of knowing how to fly, it's just because it does that. Now camera crew, I'm gonna be trying to land, so you need to, thank you. Okay. Right there. So I'm gonna try to land. Now remember, when you have no rudder, you have no steering authority on the ground either. But that is a pretty stinking good landing for a simple to fly, ready to fly product like this. We've done a bunch of these, and what comes to mind is the 400 millimeter on the E-Sheen, but this thing just does really good. Also, you see the ailerons, how they're kicked all the way up? That's what we were seeing on the E-Sheen lineup. But then once you take off, it just starts working. So it's very strange. I don't know why that is. It's something about the firmware. And while we're talking, that will correct at some point and I won't even notice it and it'll just go straight. So also you can hand launch this thing, no problem. Be aware there's no throttle cut, but this thing is super squishy. And one thing we did that was new and not in the list of instructions is we put a piece of tape here and a piece of tape there. You see what it just did there? So it's like, it's trying to overcorrect because it starts correction input until it finds its home position, then it stops. So it's a little bit different than some of the other technologies that we have out there like AS3X and Safe. Now that being said, the wind is coming at us from this side. It's reasonably light. It's probably like 4 or 5 miles an hour. So here we go, full throttle, and there you go. So as soon as you launch, it pretty much starts working, but it's just so strange because the plane does not seem like it should have enough authority. And so one of the things we ran into yesterday when we were trying to film is that the wind was a little bit confused. It was actually lighter than this. But what happens is you get into a turn and it's just flying really good. So there's grass ops for you. So obviously it's not gonna tolerate the grass because of the prop length, but I just wanna show you something. The camera crew is gonna hold on to this for a minute. This is what happens when the prop pops off. It's very uneventful, but this motor and this housing is so soft that you may have to open up your battery bay like this. It's very easy. It pops open, you can see the battery there in a holder. And I reach in with my pinky, and then I just stick this back on. So you have to kind of rock it on. Okay, so now it's on. And so basically I'm just holding my pinky up against the back of the motor. Otherwise you'll push the motor mount out. That's just how light this thing is. But it's not light as in light duty. It's actually more indestructible than many other choices we've used in the past. And it's really fun. Now, I don't think this does any one-touch commands for, you know, loops and stuff, but you can do loops when you're out of the auto leveling mode. So I'm gonna show you that now. So we'll just hand launch again. Cam crew is gonna get back on the runway and stop right there. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit of speed up. I'm gonna try to do this where there's clouds for a backdrop. And this is bank and yank, so you have to be aware of that. Okay, so out of the mode, and there it is, guys. Full loop. But just keep in mind, you can go right back into the auto leveling mode, and look how stinking glorious this thing looks. It's super, super fun and really easy to fly. Now, first plane flyer, sure, if you wanted to, it's not gonna have high consequence because it's inexpensive. It's got everything you need except for the 4 AA's that you put in the transmitter, and sure does look stinking fantastic out here. So as you can see, the one thing about these Fatties is that you do have to be kind of careful. They get a little bit wonk when you start going slow. And I'm not talking about like this thing is tail heavy. It's just not actually tail heavy to my estimation. I would say it's probably nose heavy right now, and it flies very stable. The problem is it's so stable that the elevator doesn't give you enough authority for a sharp turn. Normally when you're in a turn and you want to go sharper, what do? You add a little bit of rudder in, and guess what that does? It sharpens your turn. So what happens is a guy like me that's used to flying with a rudder gets himself into a pinch and ends up running into the attic, or the garage, or the hay pile, or the yard, or the camera crew. And so we've been super happy with the ability to fly. This plane is just super capable, but it's also not gonna be the easiest one because you have to give it so much room. Look how wide the envelope is. Well, not the envelope, but look how wide you have to turn. Now I'm gonna turn around and try to do a landing with the wind here. Oh man, I was really close to hitting the power lines on that pass. Oh, by the way, you may have noticed some stakes out in the front yard. See that? That's what I'm talking about, folks. Look at that. I almost didn't make it to the ground because my airspeed dropped, and you're like, but it didn't seem like you were going all that slow. I agree. If you guys see these stakes in the front yard, that is marking our public utility easement and the right of way because they're about ready to bury our power lines. So keep it in the throttle, and then when you're ready to land, just put it on the ground. There it is, guys. It's actually one of the easier planes to fly, but it just has a couple of bad habits. And the bad habits are not insurmountable. I really think it's a fun plane to fly, and you can fly for a long time actually, because even though we've only flown it for how long, camera crew?
Well, 8 minutes.
8 minutes. I think this thing would keep going for some time. The other thing too is because it's such an inexpensive battery, you could have a handful of them and fly this thing for a while. Now, a couple things that are major drawbacks. Of course, like we talked about the elevator. So the way I tried to improve my circumstances was I put this in the inside hole instead of the outside hole. We also tried the middle hole. And what I found is that the flight controller is so intense that it really makes very little difference. The way that you're gonna be able to get more elevator authority on this plane is you're gonna have to put more weight back, which is gonna give you a worse CG. But if you're flying in auto leveling mode, believe it or not, it'll keep up well. That's gonna liven your elevator. The other thing is you have to remember that the servos inside of this plane are extremely small and weak. So you're not gonna get the type of power that you expect. But that all being said, it flies pretty dang good. So let's do just a little bit more flying here and see if we can run it for another 2 or 3 minutes before the battery dies. Now, also I had to center my back tail wheel, the little tail dragger, because there is no correction for that. Okay, so there you go. So it just kind of turns into the wind and wind vane. So you got to get your speed up and then you can get flying. Remember, bank and yank means that you're going to be trying to use your rudder stick if you're a skilled pilot, or if you're a little bit more experienced pilot. and it's just not gonna do anything. And you have to keep your speed up. If you keep your speed up, this plane will not disappoint. But if you don't keep your speed up, this plane will absolutely disappoint, because it's gonna start wonking around and doing the tail wing waggle. But I mean, look how sweet it does. If you keep your speed up, it does wonderful. I'm about 50% throttle here, about 40% throttle. Got a crosswind from right to left of the airplane, not of me. So what I'm finding is that to impact change on the elevator, I actually ride my throttle a little bit higher. So I ride about 50%, and you can see my brain trying to use the rudder. And then all I do is I just give a little bit more input on the or on the actual throttle stick to make my turn tighten a little bit. But as you can see, it speeds up your airspeed. So you only get so much of that kind of get out of jail free card behavior. And then you basically run into a situation where you tighten your turn. So how else can you do it? Get a little extra elevator to go up. Slow the plane down, but not to the point where you start wonking. And I'll show you where it starts wonking. Let's do that right now. Going in a circle, it's gonna do okay. I'm slowing it down to the point where it's gonna start wonking on me. See it, wonking? It's where it's trying to find the nearest path to level. And then the flight controller gets sort of out of control. So then you just get hard in the throttle, and then you start flying it again. But with all things considered, this thing is really fun. And bang for the buck, I would say, is extremely high. Now, if you're not into the Fattie look, you know, the cartoony feel, we get that. That is a reasonable concern. So if it's not your thing, don't worry about it. But what I was gonna say is the thing flies amazing. And what kills me is that none of the manufacturers are making a very low density model that would be in the scale performance level, because the power is there, the performance is there. They've got all of these technologies that are working together in harmony. But then why not stretch this out and make it a scale looking plane that's very light and very soft and squishy in almost like stuffed animal state? Because I think they would kill it in the marketplace. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, this thing is actually super fun, and we hope that you guys will pick one up from the link in the video description below. That's the best way you can support us financially here on Brian Phillips RC. Obviously, we have the Unbox coming next. So if you're curious about what we had to do to set this up, it's pretty simple. I think we did one screw, a little bit of assembly, one plug, and then we kind of go over where things go and how to charge the batteries and all that good stuff, normal LiPo safety details. But I would say this is a great, fun little toy. It is definitely not going to be in the hobby grade until, of course, you add your own receiver. And when I say the receiver, I'm talking about a satellite serial receiver with SBus or DSMX or DSM2 emulation. So that goes right in there, and you'll see in the Unbox Build Radio setup if you're curious about it. Of all the crashes we had yesterday, and there was a bunch of them, and the lighting was terrible, and it was just kind of not working. I landed on the house. That was fun. Basically, the biggest thing is I had to re-glue my motor mount. So the motor mount is re-glued. So if you happen to knock that out, that took 10 seconds to re-glue it. Other than that, the thing has just been rock solid. And I mean, even then, it wasn't really a big issue. It was just more a matter of the lighting was bad. We were in a hurry, and so it didn't turn out well. One complaint I do have on this plane, and it is a legitimate complaint though, is that we don't have a rudder. Now, there is a port inside of here. I don't know if it's got any sort of programming to use for a rudder, but it would be really cool if we had a rudder on this plane, because I feel like the rudder would really make this plane easier to control, and it would kill off the one major flight flaw which I have, and that is the wide turns. Because all you have to do is in a wide turn, just give a little bit of rudder, and then you point the nose down and it sharpens everything up. So coordinating turns is a fun thing for me. However, with the dihedral on this plane, which just has a pretty fair amount of dihedral, it does super good. So it's not like a huge issue. And when you get into that wonky, slow flight performance mode, it's not a big deal. Just get into throttle. The issue you're gonna have if you're a newer pilot is that you're gonna tend to get into throttle and there'll be like a tree there. So what you wanna do to maximize your chances of success are get the tail wheel straight when you're building it, take off with lots of room out there, and land with lots of room out there. Weather direction, you know, direction is irrelative, but these trees would not be a good thing for a beginner because this thing has such a wide turning radius. So alternatively, I love how light it is. This thing is lighter by a factor of like 40 grams than the 400 millimeter counterparts in the Warbird series. This thing is just under that size class, and I can't believe how good it does. It's almost indoor flight worthy, but if you were gonna do that, it would be even cooler. So guys, I gotta say, really fun little option. I know it's been out for a little bit, but we love bringing you guys the best here on Brian Phillips RC. Obviously, this is not a $600 Warbird running on 6S going 110 miles an hour, 4 inches from your head, but it is really fun, and I think you're gonna enjoy it. So if you're looking for a good gift idea for Christmas, even for your flight aficionado friends, you know, people at the club, that sort of thing, this would be a great gift idea because it's not overly expensive. Make sure, if you're buying this from Banggood, from our links, check and see what finish level you're getting it in. This happens to be set up in a mode 2. I'm not sure if there's other options, but what I would suggest is if they have extra battery choices and you don't have other batteries, go ahead and get a few extras because this is a long 400 milliamp 1S pack. So that being said, very cool. And we have a manned aircraft. What do we have up there? That is gorgeous. Boy, that thing is cruising.
Yeah, they are.
They're blowing through the fuel. So anyway, guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we love airliners, we love aircraft, we love all this stuff, and we really do love it, even when we shut the cameras off. But we hope you're enjoying our content. Obviously, we're gonna have a little bit of construction going in the front yard. Hopefully we can catch some of it, and we'll get you guys appraised of the situation as it happens. It's a pretty exciting move for us and our family to get those power lines out of the way, which sounds like such a minor issue to probably people watching this thinking, what's wrong with you idiots? You're gonna pay to bury your power lines you just put in 3 years ago. Yes, exactly, that's what we're doing. For 2 reasons. One, I don't wanna die in those power lines, and I wanna paraglide right through where those are. And then 2, obviously this. And then 3, what a beautiful view, and no power lines will be even more beautiful. So anyway, it just would have made more sense to do it right the first time, but the power company disagreed with that theory, so that's all right. It's no skin off their back because we're paying for it. So anyway, guys, if you want to help us pay for it, please click the bell for notifications. Make sure you come back and watch content here on the channel. Smash the like button, but buy these awesome airplanes. It helps us build clout with the little manufacturers that we work with, or the distributors, hobby shops, all the different mom and pop operations that we've run into over the years. And it really does help to support us because then we've got more clout with these people we work with to do more reviews. So it's kind of this vicious cycle of success. And we appreciate that you guys have allowed us to be successful in that regard, and you guys keep us on the airwaves. So we hope that you guys will come back for more. And then if you don't like this one, there's tons more down in the video description, or you can check out brianphillipsrc.com, and there's tons of information. We literally have probably 1,700 videos to choose from, and we don't expect you guys to know everything we've done. But general rule of thumb is if we're doing a video, we did an unbox build radio setup. If we did a mod, we did a flight, so you could see and vet whether or not you like the mod. And we have all that stuff organized in a playlist format for you right on YouTube, but you go to brianphillipsrc.com and get it even more organized. Stay tuned, guys. So much more coming from Brian Phillips RC. YouTube, we're up in this box. Here we go. Whoa, look at that. That was the world's fastest unboxing. Okay, what do we have here? We have a Fattie, and this is the F4U, or what is it? I don't know which one it is.
It's a surprise.
I guess it is a surprise. So let's just go ahead and open it up. This is gonna be something new for us. It's an XK product, which is kind of neat. And ever since we did the Fattie F14, we were super excited to try some more Fattie airplanes because I thought it was gonna be so dumb, and yet it was so much fun. It was like one of the funnest planes we've done all year. Even though it definitely was not one of the best planes we've done all year, it was definitely fun. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, so we've got a book. Oh, it looks like we have this one right here. Can you read that, please? The A250?
Okay.
Okay, so I believe the A250 would be this one, which is the QBF 109. I don't know what QBF means. I think what they mean is a BF 109, but that's okay. So we got some foam here. We've got the wing. Oh, look at that cute little golden wing. It's so cute. And then we've got a little, probably a 2.5 gram servo.
That's tiny.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's keep unpacking you. All right, so we have a prop that has a white spinner and a prop that has a black spinner. Very weird. And we've got some goodies in there, of course, so we'll go ahead and open this. Okay, so we have a total of 1, 2, 3 big screws and 2 small screws. A screwdriver, which this is a nice commodity if you don't have an ultra small screwdriver. This is a prop saver, which is really nice. And that's going to allow you to snap on one of these. And that way you can fix the prop, and if you hit the ground weird, it'll just pop right off. So, but that's just going to be for a spare. I think you have a choice, whichever one you do. Now, there is a battery in here. It looks like it's kind of a different charger. We haven't seen this style. So let's pop this out. Okay, so this is a 3.7 at 400 milliamp hours. It looks like a 1.48 watt hours. And then a USB charger, made in China, strange. And yeah, 3.7 at 600 milliamp hours. So it looks like they charge this at about a 1.5 C rate. And so it's got that right on the end, which is kind of cool. We haven't seen that before, so let's see how that goes. Before we continue the unbox, we're going to start charging the battery so we can use this thing fairly soon. And by the way, if you don't know, you can actually check these voltages with one of your standard battery alarms like this, because it lines up with the pins here. Just make sure you get your minus that way. Now, it's not going to beep because there's not enough voltage to really make it beep. And that tells you what the voltage is, 3.8, which is perfect for storage voltage. So we'll just drop that in there. We have a million different ways we can charge this, but for the sake of the video, we're gonna grab this. This happens to be a Wisecam USB adapter. And we're gonna plug this in and then show you what it looks like. It feels like there's maybe a light there that's gonna show through, so we'll try our best to make that seen. Don't see, nope, there it is. Okay, cool, and then this, which would be a Molex connector. It's keyed on the end, so all you do is slide it in. Although I'm gonna pop this out because I can't quite make the alignment. There it goes. Okay, so we'll stick that in there and you should see it start flashing. Sorry about the sun there, folks. Okay, so I don't see anything going on. Did I not get it plugged all the way in? Maybe I need to start. Okay, so, oh, the light just goes out. That's weird. That is weird. Okay, so red means it's still charging. Okay. So we got a little bit more. We've got one of these snack packs. Oh wait, no, desiccant. Do not eat, it's toxic. Okay, toxic. Oh my goodness. Here, feel this. It weighs like nothing. Oh my gosh. That's like crazy. Gotta be 7 or 8 grams. I mean, this thing is so light. Okay, I gotta just say, sometimes we weigh things on this channel, and I gotta say, this thing is incredibly light. So I just wanna see how heavy it is. So obviously it's short and stubby. Okay, so let's turn that on. Now I'm just weighing the fuse because this is what gets me. Okay, so we're in grams. 30 grams, that is incredibly light for the detail that's on here. And of course, yes, this is a brushed motor with a gear drive, okay? And as you can see, there's a big motor in there actually. And then we have a singular servo for the elevator. The alternate servo will be for the ailerons. So no rudder, that's surprising. I didn't expect that. So this is a bank and yank plane. And I think we're gonna have a pretty easy assembly here. I'm just gonna get this stuff out of the way, and we will measure the all up weight. Then this comes as a ready to fly. And so on the back of here, there should be a transmitter, which there is. So obviously it comes with the battery for the airplane. It comes with the charger, and it comes with the transmitter, which is everything you need except for the batteries. In the transmitter are almost never included. So let's just pop this back in if you want to give them a quick shot of that. Looks pretty standard for XK. XK has 3D 6G stabilizer installed and equipped in their airplanes, which is pretty cool. So basically at the end of the day, when you go to fly them, they have a stabilizer and or auto leveling. In this case, it should have both. So we're excited to bring this plane to you. It looks really cool. So let's see how hard it is to get together. So it looks like when your flight is over, remove the battery. Yeah, definitely remove the battery from the aircraft because that is just a big safety issue. If you leave it plugged in, you will definitely overcharge the battery or over discharge the battery, meaning you'll drain it down below the chargeable level because that is a lithium polymer battery. And we have some screws here, so I'm assuming we'll have to screw it together. It looks like you have your choice of prop color. I'm gonna go with black, right? I mean, or do you like the white? I think I'm gonna go with black.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters.
So you can see the prop saver is installed there. Look how squishy this is. So this is like an EPO, not an EPS. So EPS would be like this UMX we did recently. Very high quality, very good plane. But EPS is like, it's very brittle, it's very firm. It is definitely not gonna hold up to crashes. This would be EPO, but it's a much bigger plane. But you can see how squishy this is. This is like the 400 millimeter E-Sheen lineup, or the, what's the heck? I got a sticker on my finger now. That's weird. Where'd that come from? That must have been a quality control sticker. But as you can see, the thing is just almost like a rubber foam, which is very sturdy. So, you know, if you crash, you don't have to worry about breaking it. Yes, you can break them, and yes, you will break them if you're not careful. But this reminds me of the all very popular 400 millimeter Warbird series that you can do things like this or like that, and just there is no damage. This, just so you know, same style prop that just clicks on.
That's why those are so nice.
Yeah, and this is really nice for a beginner because even though it does carry a little bit more weight, and that is definitely the trade-off with that style of foam, you have a lot better resiliency for crashing. And I can tell you with the, oh, by the way, with the Fattie lineups, they're a little bit different to fly. So this is the A250 and the A500 is the F4U Corsair. So we're doing this one, but this is the A500, just in case you guys were wondering. So, okay, so we're gonna come back to assembly. Assembly should be super easy. We're just gonna snap on the prop.
So if you would break that whole like prop saver off.
I'm holding the motor. Yes.
Then you could replace the whole thing and replace your prop.
Yes,
okay.
That's right. But I am holding the motor, the back of the motor, because that thing, it just feels like maybe it doesn't want to snap on there. And I want to see if I'm doing something wrong before I break it, okay? Because I want to support the back side of the motor so that I can snap this on. There it goes. Okay, so we're good. All right, so that looks pretty good. And then obviously when you press on the back side of the motor, don't rip the leads out, okay? Now the aileron needs to plug into one of these channels, okay? And I don't know which one. It looks like there's a 3-prong plug for DSM. Oh, so there's a DSM-X input probably. And then this one plugs into one of the others. Oh, gosh, I don't know. There's S-bus input, DSM input, and then there's 2 channels. I do not know which one it is. But that's pretty cool because I think that means that we would be able to use a serial receiver for this, which is pretty sweet. Then we could use like the DX8, the NX8 or similar. Okay, so that goes in there. And it's weird because you really need some strength, but it's so squishy, you have to be careful how you do it. And yeah, these things go in and out really easy. I think it might go this way. Nope, I had it right. Oops, I didn't, because that needs to go forward. You want those things to point a little bit forward, okay? And really nice wheels, squishy and soft. Now, I gotta say, we have been screaming for squishy, soft pairs for the longest time. We wanna be able to grab them and squish them and play with them. What?
Oh no, I was looking at one side of one and one side of the other.
And they do pop in, they got a click to them. Kind of hard to tell on camera. And then this is where the battery's gonna go. So just making sure that opens and closes, and it is a removable hatch access. I don't like that feature. I would rather it be taped on, so we may end up taping it because it always seems to pop off after a rough landing. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take that cover off anyway, because then I can pass the wire through, and we do have to figure out where it's plugged in. So let's look in the manual. The manual may disclose this information and it may not. We'll keep that scale handy for later. So the 3D6G, that's one thing we're gonna wanna do. Oh, and another tip. This is something we've done for years as we've worked with these small planes.
Yep.
You'll end up with more than one, I promise. So this is called the A250. So the A250, and this is the, what is that, the BF109
Yes.
Fattie? BF109 Fattie. Fattie IE, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that'd be the XK. The XK. Okay, so then also we need to get, don't mind me dropping my transmitter here, we need to get 4 AA's so that we can get that filled up. Button, button, no clicker, throttle, rudder, aileron, elevator. Of course, we don't have a rudder, so I'm not sure where they're gonna put the ailerons. I would assume the ailerons will still be in the aileron, and the elevator will still be in the elevator, and throttle will still be on throttle. And then we have trim, 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 and then power is here. So that's not a button, even though it looks like a button. So very simplistic transmitter, nothing out of the ordinary. And then also, while this is charging, I'm gonna write on here, this is gonna be the XK, it was the A250. Mm-hmm. So there's the XK A250. And so of course the BF109 will be easier for us to remember, but we're just gonna put the name for now. So we'll pause, grab a couple of double A's and show you how to load those up. Okay, so while camera crew is getting batteries, which we'll insert now, negative to the spring side, positive to the bump side, okay? Just like this, okay? And then we'll just slide that back on. Very simple. We've got a light that comes on and it's gonna flash. I'm gonna shut it off, knowing that that will work when we're ready. I noticed that in the manuals and this quick assembly instruction insert, everything is in Chinese and English together, which is confusing. It makes it hard for me. I mean, you can figure it out. It's not that big a deal, but I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so here's the A250. So it looks like they have a T28. They have another, looks like probably a BF109. Possibly. Oh no, that's a P40. Then I'm not sure what that is.
A P51?
No, that's not a P51. And then that's the F4U Corsair. So that's pretty cool. They give you the numbers and everything. And looks like all accessories are assembled. Okay, so it's just, yeah, this is super simple. But it doesn't say what servo plug, does it?
Shown in the picture. That's not a very helpful picture.
Well, it is one back from the leading edge. So
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is I'll take this, I'm gonna pass that wire through, get this ready to be in alignment, okay? So that's where you're gonna have to go like this, okay? That is gonna be hard to do, holy cow. That's a short cable when you're trying to do this attached. How am I gonna do this? Let's see if I can get it. It looks like one in. Now, it's keyed. You guys see how I'm doing this? So you can kind of line up where the pins are gonna go on that connector, but you can see where there's a relief if you're careful. Now be careful, you can break these things. These are very delicate connectors, but you see how that's in there? And the brown goes toward the front in this case. And I think I have it right. If I'm wrong, it will not respond correctly and we can make adjustments accordingly. Okay, then that just rocks in. Goodness gracious, this is like the simplest thing ever. I feel like I'm caught on something though, because it doesn't want to, oh look, those knobs go into the wing. See those knobs? There's a knob there and a knob there. Yep. Okay, so then that gives some support to the body. Then one screw goes in, and I'm gonna use this screwdriver to free the connector. Okay, so the screws that came with it, there's some extra screws. I don't know what they're for. See how there's three long ones and two smaller ones? I don't know why they gave us the other ones.
Is that really just one screw is all?
One screw. Yep, well, it actually comes with 5, but I don't understand why they're giving us 5. Now, I'm gonna use the crappy provided one just to show that it works. So if you guys don't have a screwdriver, then you can use what's provided. Feels like that's a little bit big, but it might work. We'll see here in a minute. It's going. Okay, so where the heck are the other screws for?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, they might be for the spinner, but then why do they give us so many?
There's no more on the wing anywhere?
Okay, hold on, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't look like it pulled it in very tight to here though. See? It's kind of a gap. So I don't know if I need to, it feels like it's all the way in though. Try torquing it down just a little bit more. Normally I like to see the foam kind of bite a little bit harder. Well, I guess it is what it is. Okay, so that's actually built. That is amazingly simple concept. Now let's hope it works. Oh yes, look, right here. Suitable for S-Bus J receiver or DSM receiver. So cool. Okay, so this makes me a little bit nervous. This is a ready to fly, but you can also use your own provision for having DSMX. In our case, it'd be Spectrum, or if you were using a Futaba, you can do that. But then for OpenTX, you should be able to just mimic whatever the protocol is that this thing puts out. Now, I don't know what that protocol is. And does it say here anywhere? There's just a lot of information here.
Yeah.
It says the receiver adapts GFSK communications mode, okay? So G, right there, that's what it says. That's the communication modes, GFSK communication mode. And 2 receiver conversion sockets are added. So you can actually go to something else. That's super cool. XK, thank you for that. I'm not even gonna read the rest of your manual. It looks pretty useless, but it's probably been the most useful manual we've seen in a while. So I'll take all that back. This is going back over here. Now we do have the spare prop adapter if we need it. And one tip, and this is a good one, do not give those things up. You will eventually find a reason to break one, like maybe flying and you crash into your garage on purpose to show how sturdy things are, and then it breaks immediately. Not saying I have personal experience, but I kind of do. So now that we have that in there, I want to show you another thing too. So there's no steerable tail wheel because there is no rudder. So just keep in mind, you're going to have to sort that out. So the way you do it is you can either pull this out, or you can just, like me, I'm just gonna hold and then just kind of bend it and over bend it more specifically. And look how much nicer that is. You do need to get that somewhat straight, and you're not gonna be able to lift the tail wheel and correct with the rudder because there is no rudder, okay? So just remember, when you fly this, you're probably gonna be, you know, more or less giving it a hand launch, or you just kind of throw caution to the wind, and once it's in the air, you can do what you need to do. Okay, so next move for us is to go ahead and get a battery. Now this is a weird size battery for us. We're not used to this size. We have tons of weird batteries, but in this case, let's see what kind of voltage we have. Oh, and then if you have an XBC 100, which is an amazing tool, you may also be able to use that. But I don't know if I can make the pins, see? So I'm feeling like I'm making contact, but it's not actually energizing the circuit, okay? So we're gonna go back to the old trusty cheapy. We'll just plug that in, okay? 1 cell. So we're at 3.91, so we got a ways to go. Now, one other thing you can do is we have kind of pushed this charger for years, because it's been so nice when we get into these things, because what we do is we go out and fly our small aircraft a lot right now, and we don't want to waste a bunch of time. So this little Spectrum microcharger is nice because you can charge more than one at a time. So then you just click and scroll in what you need. So this is a 400 milliamp hour, so you would scroll to 0.4 if you want to charge at 1S, or excuse me, 1C. In my case, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it up another notch and do about 0.8, which is gonna be about twice as much, or twice as fast as this thing can take, as fast as it will discharge. So that'd be like a 2C. Now this charger is supposed to be putting out a total of 600 milliamps. I don't believe it probably is. I think it's a little weaker than that, or that thing would have been charged a little faster. But forgive me for being curious. I don't really care enough, because this thing is gonna go into the abyss of millions of other chargers. Now, if you don't have millions of other chargers, we understand that that might be a dilemma, because we just showcased this. We know that it will charge it because it started at 3.80 and it went to 3.91. And this has been a pretty short video, about like 10 minutes into it. So it will work. I'm just not gonna use it. So we've got better means to charge, and the best means, if you end up ordering this plane with multiple batteries, in my opinion, is to just literally build yourself a balance board that would look something maybe like this. And then you can just charge a number of them that are similarly discharged all at the same time, which allows you to use a charger with a higher current output, and you'll charge them all at the same time. They are, after all, 1S batteries. So you can definitively charge 1S batteries in parallel, not series, in parallel, okay? So we're already at 4.7 volts, as you can see here. And that's one of the best things about this, is it will chime when it's done. And then the second best thing is, you can see we've got different types of connectors for each one. And yes, you can charge all 4 channels at different rates. So it's really nice when you're out playing with this, and then another style, and next thing you know, you just wanna fly the thing. So we're gonna pause for a few minutes, let that thing charge up. We almost never get done with a build that quick. But let's go ahead and look at what would be the all-up weight here. Maybe we can actually incorporate that while it's charging, just so we can cheat. Okay, so we'll just pop it out. Oh, if you pull this out while it's charging, it gives you a 33 error, okay? So that is 12 grams. The lid is not even registering as a gram. So then I'm gonna set this on the prop. And look at that, we're at 62 grams all up. That is incredible and very light. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this quickly back into the charge port. And once you get it back into the charge port, you can just click and hold, and it's going to start charging. And that light changes from red to green when it's done. So all up flying weight, less than 65 grams is insane. That is super light. And I think what we could do is we could also find a similar battery, except like I said, this is kind of an in-between size. We obviously have a million different choices. So we can look at what we've got handy. This would be a 380 milliamp hour. Let's see if that one's charged. We just want to give you guys a realistic expectation of what you're going to get when you buy this thing from the links in the video description below. So obviously, if you guys want to help support our channel, our family, and of course what we do here on YouTube, the best thing you can do is watch the videos, like and subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Okay, so that's giving us a 33 error, and that's because it's a really low. You see how it said 2.2? So what it's going to do is it's going to say, probably what happened is this battery actually got left uncharged. This happened to be for the Hawkeye, which is an Arrows product. So we have millions of batteries. This one's for the P40, all 400 milliamp hour. So let's see if that one's good. And this is not to disparage the Hawkeye. It's a really good really good aircraft. So let's see if this one goes. Ah, yeah, see, this one's charged more already. And just keep in mind, if you do use a battery like this and you want to give yourself the best lifespan on this battery, what you want to do is use it and then put it away. Because used and then put away is the best and safest way, because the most chemically stable for a LiPo is to be at storage voltage, which is usually about 3.8 volts per cell. So like on a cell like this would have 4 cells in series, so it's a 4S. This is a 1S, and it's like, well, there's not really series or parallel because it's a 1 cell. Yes, but we still call it a 1S. Okay, so in this case, this is at 4.2 volts, and once it's charged, we can go ahead and pop that out, or if this one beats us to the chase, we can pop it out. But for now, since they're the same capacity and approximately the same weight, we'll just take whichever one comes back. So we'll pause and get ourselves ready. Okay, so while we were paused looking through the manual for CG and waiting for the battery to finish charging, my camera crew noticed that I put these on backward. And I want to show you an indicator. If you've got them wrong, these things will not be flush. I had them the other direction. And so I just wanted to show you that, because if you put them in wrong, it's going to be like that and they'll bump up. And plus, you'll see that the white is pointed in if you have them backward. Okay, now you do want them to be canted toward the front of the wheels or toward the front of the plane. So I thought, which is probably a fair assessment, that they should be further outboard for more stability, but that's not the way that they designed this plane. Okay, so that's in there, and this one's gonna be in there. Okay, so then we're good. So then once you've got that thing rolling mostly straight, you may need to play with that a little bit just to kind of get it going mostly straight. That's pretty good, but it's favoring to the right now. That's pretty good. So give it a couple of test runs and you can just kind of see, that looks pretty good. That's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Now the other thing is we marked on our controller, it says 3D6G here. So that's how you convert that mode. I'm assuming just the one, but sometimes they do redundant controls on the XK
That
stuff.
one on the left side says something about like to press based on the rudder size, which there is no rudder, so I don't.
They're probably talking about rates.
Oh.
Yeah, so what we can do is we'll mark it as such on ours as a reminder. So now rates would speak to the amount of throw or deflection on each of the control surfaces. So I'm just gonna write rates, question mark. And yes, I do actually mark the transmitter because this is just, here's just a handful of them. We've got another probably 4 boxes like that. Yeah. And yes, it is very hard to remember when you've got, so always the best thing to do is if you want the best performance, set it up on your protocol that you're used to, whether that be Spectrum or Futaba, or if you want to do OpenTX, open source. Now this is interesting. We are probably getting about done with our voltage, but we haven't seen it beep yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and grab the little voltage alarm again, and we're gonna see if we can grab, why don't we just...
We should probably do the one that came with.
Let's do the one that it came with. Okay, so...
And there was no CG mark in the manual. You mentioned that we were looking for
Come over here. Also, you can click this button and you can see what's gone into it. That's the rate. So 0.3 amp hours has gone into it. Or no, that's actually the rate it's charging at. So I don't know why it's only at 0.42.
Oh, there it says 100.
Yeah, so that's counting up how many milliamp hours have gone into it, I believe. Okay. Or that might be the percentage. I apologize, folks, if that's incorrect. No, it looks like the milliamp hours. So I'm gonna stop it by pressing and holding, and it stops. I'm gonna pull this out, and I'm gonna go into this. And you're like, but didn't it just say the voltage? Yeah, I just wanna see what this says. Oh, and of course, literally as I do that, see how it says 4.13? Interesting, right? So I'm gonna put this back in. I'm gonna just start it again at 0.83 amps. This one says full, so let's disconnect it. Put it onto this little charge thing. By the way, I wouldn't make any bets because that says 4.24. These little things are just close. Now, if you want a really accurate one, the XPC 100, it gives us a lot more accuracy in my experience. It's also a lot more expensive. So without further ado, we're just gonna use the one from the P40 because it's super similar and I don't really care. It's gonna do the same thing and they're gonna be about the same weight. And if you look down in there, when you drop this battery in there, there is a pocket that holds it. You see that? So you see how it's got that little vertical support? Okay. So we're just gonna, here, you gotta get pretty close to see it, I would imagine. See? That'll keep it where it needs to go. So we'll leave this upside down. Hopefully it doesn't, make sure your throttle stick is all the way down. And I have the black by my belly because you cover it up with your fingers. And so it's easy to mistake that. Get it on its feet as quick as possible. Wait a moment, it should initiate if it hasn't already. Okay, and we don't see any behaviors yet, so we're gonna shut this off, which is unusual. Then we're gonna turn this back on. And see it stopped flashing. Hey, look at that, we're dancing now. Okay, so roll left, roll right, elevator up, elevator down. Y'all left, y'all right, there is no rudder, so it should be pretty easy to tell. Roll left, roll right, up, down, click, roll left, roll right, up, down. Here, 1 beep, 2 beeps, okay? Now, there's your high rates, there's your low rates. Beep, beep is high rates, beep is low rates, okay? All right, so that's everything, guys. That's what we do here on Brian Phillips RC. We unbox, build, and radio set up these planes, and then we fly them. But we always show the flight first because that's what people really want to see most of the time. So hopefully it flies really good and you enjoyed it. We don't know, it looks like the wind is pretty calm, so we're gonna try to fly it tonight. But we just wanna thank you guys for watching our video. Definitely smash a like button if you got anything useful out of it and if you enjoyed the video. But also, if you really wanna help support us, one of the best things you could do is buy these awesome planes when we review them. It's not just about the small commissions that do come to us from these companies. And you're thinking, well, that seems like a conflict of interest. You might be right, except that we tell the truth about these things. And that means that if they suck big time, we tell you that. And that's how we've worked it out with these companies. We say, hey, send us good stuff, or we're gonna tell the truth. So it works out really nice. Now, the other thing too is just keep in mind, we don't care which plane or helicopter or quad or e-bike or whatever it is we're reviewing. We don't care which thing you buy. We want you to buy what's right for your family, for your needs, for your interests. And so just because we're interested in this short Fattie doesn't mean that you'll be interested in a short Fattie yourself. So you might have different interests or different experiences that you want to enjoy. And so when you come to Brian Phillips RC, what we're going to do is we're going to help you see what we enjoyed about it, how it performed, and we're going to try to do it in a comparison at the same place, at the same environment. We're not going to go out there and fly one in a tornado, except we did do that.
The tornado wasn't here. It was like a
It was
little ways
close.
away.
It was close. But the thing is, what we're going to do is we're going to try to give you guys a good basis for comparison. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to fly everything at minus 14 degrees, but sometimes we do that too, or plus 114 degrees.
Do all of those.
We're getting closer to the minus 14 degrees than the latter, which is gonna suck. But again, I digress. This plane might be the best thing that we've ever flown. I kind of doubt it, but at the same time, it's gonna be good for something. Now, it's not the best, fastest, lightest, cheapest, any of those things, but each and every plane, it's kind of like children. You love them all, but you love some a little bit more. Just don't tell the other kids that. So, anyway, are there any other parenting secrets you want to let out today?
Yeah, that was a good tip for the day.
That was a good tip for the day?
You missed your don't. You're going to share with them in the manual about...
Oh, that's right. The manual had some
While you're giving out good advice.
While we're giving out good advice. So camera crew, if you would please read this. This is the end of the flight.
The end of flight. Please develop good habits so as to avoid regret.
That's right, because who wants regret? So, I mean, when you guys need good advice, you obviously come to Brian Phillips RC so that I can read you the good advice from the XK A250 manual, because that's what we do here on Brian Phillips RC is we help you guys get in the sky instead of sitting on the couch or in front of the computer or whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you're dropping some kids off at the beach right now, but that's okay. We don't really care where you watch as long as you do watch. And at the end of the day, we think that you're gonna like this thing because it looks like it's gonna be really fun. And we hope that you guys will come back more. We always have tons of new content here on Brian Phillips RC. We literally have stacks of boxes and then more boxes on the way for when we're done with those stacks so that we can keep you guys entertained, but then also give you a good idea of what's to expect. So now, thinking of that, as we get close to Christmas season 2022, we know that some of these things are gonna be in high demand and some of them maybe aren't. We're not sure which one's gonna be in the high demand and which ones aren't, but my guess is what you're gonna need to do is start making some good decisions, and we're here to help you with that. If you go over to www.brianphillipsrc, we're gonna try to keep you appraised of what we know about for coupon codes so you can save a buck. Also, then you can still help support us when you use those coupon codes. You just basically follow the links and then they will send us commissions even if you guys use coupon codes. So hopefully that helps you guys pick between maybe two items you really like. And so that's part of the reason why we love doing all these airplanes, because then you can have a good basis for comparison. Like, hey, do I get the F-16 in the Thunderbird scheme or do I get the F-16 in the Navy scheme or the livery? And I would suggest that maybe you get this instead so that your wife doesn't end your life, but also get that too after she sees how awesome this is. But there's lots of different choices out there and everything looks good online. So when you come to Brian Phillips RC, we're gonna show you the way it really went. And hopefully that helps. So guys, leave your comments and questions down below. We'll get to them as soon as we can. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. World's best audience, and a special thanks to our Patreons that support us every month. It is really close. I mean, we are honored that you guys believe in us enough to support us on a monthly basis. And if you guys want to do that too, we have Patreon and PayPal links at the very top of the list there. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to buy these amazing creatures from the links. Bye.